everybody. Good afternoon. So we are in a final plenary session of the 10th International Scientific Conference, Rural Development 2021. And after 2 intensive days of work, of presentations, of scientific forums and discussions, now we are just concluding our results and let's say finishing it in a, of course, positive note. And it is my pleasure to say that we had about 150 participants also as here together with online from 20 countries. And of course, maybe it is not as much as we always had before, but still we are very happy. I think yesterday evening was good, so today we just about some remarks, what we heard in our presentations, what we had in our posters, and what we had discussions in our different sections. So I will invite to conclude speakers from each section we had in our conference. And in our conference we had 4 main sections. And first of the sections is agro-innovations and food technologies. So I will ask Associate Professor Rimantas Vaisvalavičius to say concluding remarks, what was in the presentations, what was the discussions, and so on. So please.
So thank you very much. Our section was really very innovative, but I think smallest one, because we had only 4 oral presentations and 1 more we had online presentation, so in total 5 oral presentations, and in the poster section we had 12 presentations. I compared what situation was 2 years ago in 2019, and I found that in the same section we had 11 oral presentations, so twice more, and posters was 17. In my opinion, this naming of this section little bit sounds really maybe too innovative, because some colleagues, they moved to another sections. People who have some research done with soil properties, with plant, different condition issues, they decided not to stay, I mean, from the agronomy faculty in this section, but they moved to the forestry section. So we missed 5 or 6 at least in this way. But people who stayed in our section, they really feel doing very innovative, very new research. And what I found out that we could see 1 or maybe 2, I would say, main aspiration. I mean, it is time to rethink and to find new approaches for our research, and to find ways how to develop new knowledge, but together with broader audience, with more collaborators, with more partners, so I mean more international level. And also we need maybe new strategies, because as usually in many how to say, parts of the state of our lives, we always doing some daily things, but we do not have strategy. What will happen in 5 years, in 10 years? So it's very important to elaborate kind of strategy, and also to think about new European ideas like Green Deal, like safe environmental to reduce this intensive agriculture. So we have to think about new strategies. And answering to this aspiration, I would say we saw a presentation about, I would say, agroecological transition of land use and maybe even conventional farming system to more ecological style, but in the same time keeping our soils healthy, to preserve them, and it's very important to keep productive. I mean, we should keep productivity because human being, people are growing. In Lithuania, we maybe have only about 3 million, but if you look to the world statistic, we have milliards of people. So we have not just to go to kind of ecology, but also to keep productivity, I think. And it is a very difficult task to combine it with reduced amount of chemicals, with fertilizers in particular. Also, very important findings were presented about alternative non-chemical pesticides as a means, as technique for reducing risks, first of all for people, for our health, but also for ecosystem in general. So we have chance now to find ways how to fight with different pests, with weeds, and without chemical means. And initial findings, initial research started already in Lithuania, but also together with some partners, for instance, in Vienna, in Austria. Also, all the time we have to think about waste, because people, they are consumers, they are consumers, and they like to buy, to collect a lot of things, and that's why we have a lot of waste. Also waste, I mean organic origin waste. So it is always question what to do. We have so how to recycle, to find how to utilize them in second time. And of course the simplest way would be put everything to the soil, but not so just to put, but we noticed that many wastes, they are really valuable in regard to nutrient content. And for instance, bone meal is not maybe not eatable anymore, so we can use for amendment of soil and to make more nutrients for plants. Also, it's popular, but maybe it's really a good idea to do research in controlled environment. I mean, in laboratories, but in special chambers, in facilities where we can grow, for instance, some plants in very controlled, in very good conditions for them, and that also adds a new innovative solution how to grow, how to get production, but also to preserve our land, to preserve our water, so not to use so much resources, because as you may understand, resources, they are, how to say, limited. Yes, they are limited. We cannot always use them. Of course, maybe we will fly one day to the moon or to the other planets and we find salts there, but not so quickly and not so easy it will be to stay there. So 5 presentations, but really I would say with good aspiration, with perspective for the future, and posters also were in the same way, also some way about the utilizing of waste, about use of different raw materials, about food, yogurts, and other things that we daily use, and we have to keep them in good condition, and keep in mind not only our health but also environment. So would we briefly about section number 1. Would be any questions or suggestions from the audience? Or
Thanks. I will have a small question. So how do you think, what is the role of marketing in new food technologies and innovations? What is the role of marketing and advertising in new food technologies and innovations?
so I'm not very good about the rules because I'm dealing with the soil, but advertising or spreading of knowledge, of course, is a very important thing. From one point of view, we call people experts. So we have now many experts, but who is really expert, who is not expert? We have a lot of knowledge, and it's very difficult to understand if this is true, will work, it will help for you or not. So I think information is not problem, a huge of information, but how to find information fits for you and really helps for this future human perspective to live in this planet.
Thank you. Maybe somebody wants to ask some questions. Okay, so thank you. And now I will ask Professor Algirdas Jasinskas to conclude second section about biosystems engineering and environment integrity. Yes, you can, if you have some slides, so you can use that one, please.
Yes, it's look okay. Yes, I am also want to present work of our all participants and listeners in the section number 2, Biosystems Engineering and Environment Integrity. So all main questions which were presented in these sections, I have wrote in this list, you see. Main questions were discussed in these presentations, in these sections. Optimization of agricultural machinery and technologies and power and transport machines. Next, renewable energetics. Energetics, it was wide section. It was, how to say, many presentations in this topic. Safety and environment and technologies. Next, also was important topic for presentations. Durability of engineering structures and sustainable constructions. And sustainable management of water resources and environment safety also. And sustainable animal husbandry also was mentioned in and presented in this section. So I will present some statistics of this presentations in the sections. Section 2, in presentations in person, there were presented 7 presentations, where participated 12 participants. It is not maybe very important. And main participants were from Lithuania, Italy, Turkey. And main topics here also I have presented, and presented were efficiency and environmental impact of wastewater treatment, and another questions of waste materials using for sewage sludge, you see, and other biomass ash present, using also of potassium, integrated systems from modern combine harvesters, and climate change, office of water resources. For example, it was interesting presentation from Turkey about situation in this country. So, next session was presentations online. It was also interesting presentations, where there were presented 9 topics, and approximately 20 participants participated in the work of this section. And presenters were from Lithuania, Germany, Latvia, Russia, Romania. So a lot of countries were participated in this section, because online, of course, it is better to take part. It's not, for example, easy to travel from Romania or other countries. And main topics were also some questions were presented about dairy farms, and about different soil processing, and biomass also were presented, how to use for various purposes. And one question was construction and application of high heat energy efficiency, mobile macro eco houses for receiving prophylactic producers and self-isolation of coronavirus COVID-19 and other cold virus infections. So it's also one of the questions in this section. And so next session, where I am myself was moderator of this section. So there were presented common 9 presentations, 5 in person and 4 online. 1 poster was also shortly presented in this section. So, and main presenters were from Lithuania, Finland, because Finland is main coordinator of this project, workshop branches, boosting rural bioeconomy networks, Lithuanian and Polish network. So, and Poland, main participants Poland, and colleagues from Olsztyn, from Warmia and Missouri University, have invited our University Agriculture Academy, and I am also participating this project. So, and there were presented a lot of interesting information about this project, and mainly short presentation were done by Lithuanian, by our country, about renewable energy sources, about biomass and agricultural residues, production for energy purposes, and chaff or chopped, for example, biomass of short rotation forestry, also of production and utilization for energy purposes. So main presentations were from Poland, and they presented different examples of working of renewable energy sources. For example, biogas, biomass production for energy processes, and other interesting questions. So there were good section, good work, and good discussion between these presenters and between listeners. So, and also one poster were presented by Czech Republic. Also online shortly was presented. So finally in the section Biosystems Engineering and Environmental Integrity were presented 12 presentations in person, 12 online, and were presented 9 posters. So short information about work in this second section. So I want to say that we worked successfully and was interesting work, and it's all participants from abroad are very happy that it was also presentations in person. Maybe all hope that next our conference will be all in person, non-online. So we, for this reason, are very happy and very thankful for all organizers of this conference. Thank you for attention.
Thank you. So for you, I also have a small question. So how do you think, what is the main challenge for Lithuanian environment and biodiversity in next 10 years, 20 years?
Yes, next years, it's very important on my opinion also. And in the project, we also discussing situation that we have a lot of resources, for example, of biomass. We can to use these resources also. In Lithuania, we are using big amount for production of biofuel, so solid biofuel. In Poland, they have presented biomass utilization for biogas. So I think that this link we also have to keep, because it's interesting, and we have a lot of various sources in Lithuania of biomass, which can be used not for biofuel solid, but also for biogas and for other sources. Of course, other renewable energy sources we have to use widely, of course, wide and wide, because it's very important.
Thank you.
Okay.
So now I will invite Professor Darius Danusevičius to conclude our third section about multifunctional approach for sustainable use of bioresources.
I want to close.
Okay, hello everyone. I present results of our most interesting things from our session, and the title is very interesting: Multifunctional Approach for Sustainable Use of Biological Resources. And so it happened to be that I am from the area of forestry, and most of the presenters there were from forests. And actually forest is so important, as if you see around this room, you'd see trees everywhere. If you look behind you, there are 2 pictures, they are with trees. And if you look to the window, can you say which species of tree is that? And nobody knows, so that's sort of very important thing. Forest, and our session was focused on forests, and I actually emphasized, summarized these problems into 3 main topics. What I found that first is climate change, and we know already from our politicians that it can soon be reached the point where it is irreversible. So it's very important in our forests. You will see we have many threats because of that. And then there was several presentations on multiple forest values, so that forestry not only for wood, but we can extract much more values from it, and biological and genetic diversity conservation. And you see one of the pictures here, how scientists want to look inside the tree and see how efficiently it utilizes water so that it's prepared for the coming periods of drought. And one point which was discussed during our meeting is very interesting, is that we humans have already changed our ecosystems so that there may be no natural aspects, no natural ecosystems at all, because we put our Earth into the film of CO2 layer, and then leaving forests and maybe natural ecosystems to own destiny may be not the best strategy, because stressors that come with the climate change are sort of fast and crude. So the point from that is that we need to help with the sometimes human intervention to help forests to resist all these environmental stresses. And then there were discussions on European forest policy, and also there are UN forest policies and FAO that maybe correspond to each other, but all the stress that we need to help European forests to adapt to the new conditions, for instance. And also in forestry, we have this problem that we have to balance economical and ecological values in Europe. And European countries, they are a bit different in this context. If you look at the more southern countries, which have less forest remaining because of the historical reasons, there is emphasis on those ecological values. But if you look more to the north, when the wood is economical value, is emphasis there. So in Lithuania, actually, we are at the place where we need to balance all those values. And then several presentations, for instance, spatial planning and of the landscape architecture is important, for instance, area. And there was a presentation about peatlands and saying that, analyzing the structure of peatlands and saying that, for instance, maybe you will see in one of those graphs, those red bars, they are showing that we are lacking of some of the peatland area which were ameliorated a lot. And now they sort of need maybe to return back to what they were, because they accumulate, for instance, agricultural nutrients and other areas. They can serve as a water reserves, and there were even economical calculations how much it would cost. But what was interesting to me that presenter gave also values in money what these peatlands could give back. So interesting point. And for instance, how it may look, this fan. So new species, it was an interesting point because climate is changing and new species are coming. Not this what you see here, it was just to those who are sleeping to be awake. So, and with the new species, it's interesting point for you to think that about this study where Danish scientists modeled climatic conditions which occur in Europe, in the other continents, and counted number of the woody species that our ecological niche could accumulate. And you see in Europe they found 122, but in America twice as much in the same conditions. In Asia 5 times more, so that means our forests are capable to accumulate more species, but what is our strategy against that? And this is quite not an easy answer, because part of the society think that species which are not native in Lithuania, they are how they call alien species, and sometimes they are quite crude against them. So there was a presentation about several of those, like Fagus sylvatica is common in Europe. And if you look at the map, I don't know, you see my arrow, so this natural range is coming quite close to Lithuania, and so it's coming in by natural way from its natural range, and there were studies that trying to find out origin of those species with the DNA markers, for instance, from where they come from, because we had also some introductions before, especially in the western part of Lithuania, which was former part of Eastern Preußen. And other our native species like Tilia cordata, for instance, also famous Lithuanian tree, it's coming after these last age extinctions, and if you see the restitutions of forest covers over the last 15,000 years, you will see that 6,000 years ago we had quite a lot of this tilia in our forests, but then due to climatic cooling it retreated back to the forests, and now actually when this warming up is coming back again, it comes back. And then there was a study how it comes back, what is the composition of genetic diversity, and this study reported that in the western part you will see most of those coming back to the forest are coming from urbanized territories, that is manor houses, city avenues, which are not genetically diverse. And in the eastern Lithuania, we found much more diversity in the forests of tilia. The same with oak, which is also thriving better in the climatic change, so that this studies reported also on oak. Then coming to the other topics, it was need for, and there were quite a bit of presentations saying that we need to diversify our forest services and production. And if you look at picture like that, you can even name a museum there and sort of take tickets to go in and tell different things how this ecosystem functioning. And this is actually in Western European countries like Holland, like Germany, is gives quite a good income for the forest companies. Also, there was emphasis on ecosystem services. That is the service that forests can do to the others. And when I asked the presenter what would be the main, you think, ecological service of the forest, then we said that maybe this could be the sort of most important, that forest managers together with environmental people, if they maintain sound, stable, representative, and accessible green infrastructure network of forests, is very high service for the state and as well for Europe itself, because we are still forest country. So this was a very interesting idea. What else we can do from the forest is, I think from Italy, one farmer breeds chicken in the forest, and he sells his eggs as very expensive because they were brought in the forest environment with very green and birds singing and so on. So the eggs very ecological, and for instance, why not? That was the also diversification of forest functions. So there were quite a bit of ecological presentations about birds, for instance, how scientists study the singing of birds and trying to find out the habitats they like and what effects forest management gives to those birds in order to optimize this forest management, clear-cut areas, size of clear-cut areas, time to have more diversity in our forests. There are many sort of interesting, maybe there's just no time to tell about everyone, but biodiversity trees, for instance, foresters are obliged to leave some old thick trees for diversity of mushroom and other species. And of course we discussed where is the border. Now this is important because we all know the fires in Spain, yes, and the fires everywhere where they were, in Australia for instance. But they are a scary thing, and maybe one was that maybe we leave too much dead wood and then the wood burns. We need to maybe find an optimum between wood accumulations for species diversity and safety margin, because it's not only fires, there could be also insect invasions and which could come to healthy forests. So we discussed that it should be found balance on those ecological and economical values. And yes, this is the study of water efficiency in pine, so how to prepare for droughts. There were studies from Latvia on regeneration methods of Scots pine, which is the best way to regenerate it in a natural way. Studies on, actually we have a lot of those manor house parks in the former Lithuanian history. Each nobleman had a manor house and then used to establish old parks. And some of them, they are abandoned now, but they contain valuable species, so there were studies how to restore it and use it for the future. And in general, the story of those species, it's interesting to find their origin. Maybe there is some network of, because we think that earlier king or so, he didn't go to the forest to pick seeds. Most probably they used some specific botanical gardens which then spread all over. And one presentation was from the agricultural field, is from Czech Republic about water resources, because actually this shows an importance of our field, that we are in the agricultural field seem to be very important actually for society, because we produce food and we produce ecological values for people. So our university and our areas are very sort of important, but so that we should not be outweighed by biotechnology and IT sector. We have just to advertise ourselves well. And water resource, for instance, water is food for plants, and there was a study showing, you see, sharp fluctuations over the last decade, so that you can have much water coming during a short time and may have a flooding, and then you can have lack of water at the same time. So there's a problem showing problems to our field. So basically that's all summary. Questions maybe?
Thank you. Again, my small question. So do we have some species of animals coming back to our forests?
Yeah, I showed one. Where is it?
I saw that chicken, but accept it.
Yes, we have animals coming, and I would actually say more about trees. The trees are coming to our forests, not local trees, but from animals we maybe more often will see bears coming from Russia. Wolves are coming much more, and we actually did a project with genetic diversity of wolves and say that they are coming through Latvia actually. Latvian border, because maybe there is a larger forest network than from the Belarusian side. And this wolf coming is very positive for us because they enrich genetic diversity, because, you know, wolves were exterminated very much after the Second World War, and we are getting genetic bottlenecks. So this gene flow of wolves from Latvia and then maybe from Russia there is very important for us. And I don't know in English the word, but we say coyotes, that sort of dog, which comes from the south. In very rare examples, they don't know is it really natural or maybe escaped from some, you know, collecting guy who collects. So that's an aspect. And another interesting maybe to you, hybridization between wolf and dog, because with the DNA markers we can detect hybrids between those two species, and then we noted that there is a tendency in the northeastern side of those hybrids to appear. And then we think about too, is it a natural way that they are hybridized with dogs that escape from their farms, or is it some breeding, illegal breeding institutions who do breeding and sell those dogs for a better price because they have genes of wolf? So this is also increasingly concerning us, and maybe these hybrids could attack animals more than native wolves, for instance. And I think that's it. Mostly.
Thanks. So we have not so much time, and we have concluding section 4, and I ask Professor Vilma Kočiūnienė to tell us about social research for sustainable bioeconomy and climate change.
Thank you for the possibility to present final results. And as always, we are seeing that social research for sustainable bioeconomy and climate change very important. And I am really happy that we have some subsections, and it was very well structured. And in too fast behavioral, social, and cultural changes for the Green Deal, social innovations for bioeconomy development, including COVID-19. You see, so it was 15 presentations from the different countries, and the key points are discussed links between green finance, climate change, solutions for waste management, issues regarding the connection between the region and local responsibility for waste management, promotion of communities' habits for waste management, communication with the citizens in the main solution for waste management, farmers' understanding of development definition in the wide context, competitiveness of tourism and innovation as drivers on sustainability and competitiveness of the bioeconomy. So in second subsection, it is rethinking agriculture, rural development policies and institutional frameworks. Again, we had a lot of presentations, and as the key points are discussed changes in accessibility of educational infrastructure, youth possibilities and willingness to work in rural areas, and young farmer support. Knowledge and innovation partnership models of vertical cooperation for sustainable development were discussed. The long-term vision and evaluation of rural development were presented, and progressive, circular and sustainable bioeconomy and energy systems were highlighted. Researchers present the outputs of research results of Horizon 2020, cost action, and other national and international projects. The fourth subsection was about smart villages. It is alternative models for the development of rural areas. And here we had two subsections. One subsection was for international project Smart Rural. So it's towards smart rural tourism development. And another one is trend of market development and challenges for bio-based products in sustainable value chains. Discussed the challenges of bio-based products and sustainable value chains development. So in the section we had a lot of presentations, and it was about thematic villages, about concept of smart rural tourism, smart villages in Portugal, learning for employment, sustainable rural tourism, formation of sustainable pricing policy, criteria for business-to-business purchases for bio-based products and in sustainable value chains, and sustainable models for rural development, and definition of the European heritage market as well as boundaries between smartness and storytelling. And last subsection is resilient and sustainable food system development, and here we had 8 presentations, and you see that from Baltic countries and Poland, and the key points was discussed. It is sustainability of local food systems by choosing ecologization scenario, a strategic approach to research and innovation in Central and Eastern Europe for food system transformation, key issues in measuring environmentally sustainable growth of agriculture, as the role of local food system in rural communities, food self-sufficiency in Latvia, so it's local food versus imported food, and this presentation was very deep, has very deep discussion. COVID-19 impacts on the dairy supply chain in Estonia, peculiarities of organization and marketing of short food supply chains, and comparative analysis of beer business models and justification of their management improvements. So I'm really glad as a scientific committee member that the topics which we generated before the conference was covered, and we connect researchers, we connect practitioners, and we have the really good possibility to present our results and to share our results with others and to change ideas and etc. So thank you for sharing the results of the studies, of the new knowledge, and thank you for the participation all these 2 days. I think it was very fruitful, and thank you for organization.
And for you also, a very small question. So are our researchers more in conceptual level of analyzing bioeconomy, or are we going already deeper?
Yes, some presentations, some researches still are in the conception level, but of course we had empirical research results, and as I said about this self-sufficient COVID-19, this consequences of this, and of course about local food systems, because in our section, for example, where I was moderator, it was the main topic, how to create, who have to do this, so it means was a lot of suggestions for the stakeholders.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I shortly will invite our member of APA-Agri project, our Rector Emeritus Antanas Maziliauskas, for very short remarks about the project.
Thank you very much. In fact, not everybody knows that this conference has been officially approved by the DG Agri, by the European Commission, to be the first conference, and the Commission has delegated the APA-Agri support facility to take part at that conference, and the findings of the conference will be reported to the Commission. It means that the findings will have an impact on the European policy. I hope so. So why it's not just for fun that we have spent 2 days here in discussing, and we have to probably pick up major ideas which have been discussed today and yesterday. And I noted yesterday from the Business and Science Forum that it's very good not to discuss only among researchers, but when you have business people, when you have farmers in the panel, and when they are saying that we need more science or more research, it's already something. And the second thing, that they want to have the results or advice when they need it, and they need one-to-one advice very often, not just theoretical advice. And Vilma, I think Professor Vilma was saying yesterday that now we have to learn how to communicate these research results to final users, to farmers. And those issues are very important. And you noticed yesterday in the PECOM's presentation in the morning that now EU is building up, let's say, the bridge, how to exchange knowledge and innovations, and how to communicate to farmers, and how to make farmers be involved, engaged in that process. So even I picked up yesterday, there was Jonas from Nanolab. He said that even there are some technological restrictions for using, for example, drones for spraying pesticides, and the Commission is not flexible enough in considering drones. They consider drones as regular planes. I think we have to pick up also this issue and to bring to the European Commission. And I promise you that in the report, because we have to report that, we will communicate that, and I hope that in many focus groups you will contribute to finding the topics for the focus groups. But also I would like to encourage you, because you see, during last period, the EAP Agri had about 40 different focus groups in different disciplines. And now every year there will be 3 new focus groups, and in each focus groups there are 20 participants from different, let's say, profiles, with different profiles, researchers, but also users, policymakers. So many of you could be part of focus groups. Don't hesitate to suggest yourselves. Yes, but also in every focus groups, there are 3 meetings a year for each focus groups. The Commission invites external experts, 1 or 2 external experts, to contribute to guide that discussion of focus groups. So many of you could be contributing to that process. Yes, and so I'd like to say that I'd like to thank you very much for this communication today, but if you have possibility to send forward me your presentations you made, that will help to make the notes, to communicate those findings to the DG Agri. Thank you very much. It has been a great conference. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor, and thank you all speakers. And now, concluding our event today, we have two events, yes. We have left 2 cultural events. So today we have Kaunas City Tour, that is 15:30 bus will be waiting near Central Building, and tomorrow 9:30 in the morning also will be waiting bus for 2nd cultural tour. So that's the program issues. And now I just want to thank everybody, participants, members, presenters, reviewers. Especially I want to thank my all organizing committee, scientific committee, for all the work we done, and we done it not by 1 day or 2 weeks or 1 month. We did it for maybe 1 year. So thank you all, and thank you all for participating online, participating in person, and see you next time after 2 years. Thank you very much.